half times negative 3/4. Notice that's going to equal 1 times 3 over 2 times 4 equals 3 over 8. Same thing, it's positive. But if we do it with the negative, so say we do 1/2 times negative 3/4, that's going to equal negative 1 times 3 over 2 times 4 equals negative 3/8. So notice it becomes negative. Or if I do negative 1/2 multiplied by 3/4, that's going to equal negative 1 times 3 over 2 times 4, which is going to equal negative 3/8. Let's try this on example 17. A says negative 3/7 times 8/15 our solution. So let's multiply. That equals negative 3. Well, okay, so 1 is negative, 1 is positive, so the whole thing is going to be negative because the signs are different. So we just do negative 3 times 8 over 7 times 15, which equals, okay, we can simplify. So divide this by 3 is 1, divide this by 3 is 5. Now we can do it. 8 on the top, 7 times 5 equals 35. Notice we had negative, so the answer is negative. B, negative 2 3/5 times negative 1 1/4. And here we are going to put them into improper fractions, so negative 13 over 5 times negative 5 over 4. Notice they're both negative, so our answer is going to be negative. So we can write 13 times 5 over 5 times 4. Cross that out to get 1. We divide those both by 5. Our answer is going to be 13 over 4. Write it as a mixed number, 3 and 1/4. Try this on your own. Guided practice 9 and 10. Next, let us divide rational numbers. So, to divide rational numbers, it's the same as we saw up here. So I'm going to rewrite that out again. So if they are the same, you should write this out too. You need to write this out. Positive divided by a positive equals a positive. Negative divided by a negative equals a positive. So these were the same, and they became positive. If they're different, like a positive divided by a negative, it becomes negative, or a negative divided by a positive becomes negative. These are different, or you could say opposite. So we get the positives and the negatives. So let's so I'm not going to write examples for all these like I did there because you know them. So basically, just remember that the two numbers are reciprocals if their product is 1. So like 3 and negative 3, not reciprocals. Okay, a reciprocal means the product is 1. So here, the product of 3 times negative 3 equals negative 9. The product is not 1. But if you had like negative 5 and negative 1/5, we're going to try to multiply those, see if they're reciprocals. Negative 1/5, the product is 1. Therefore, these are reciprocals. So you could say that 3 divided by 1/5 is the same as 3 times 5 because these are reciprocals, so we could divide by 1 and multiply by the other, and it is a correct statement. So these are reciprocals. Just a little math note there. Okay, moving on. Complex fraction. What is a complex fraction? It is a quotient of two numbers. So it's just basically how it's written, like if your numerator is a fraction and your denominator is a fraction. So numerator and denominator are fractions, like this, 1/3 over 5/6. So you have the numerator and you also have the denominator, and these are both fractions. Okay, there's many other examples. I'll show you them in the book. Like this one, it just has 1 on the top. This one has just 1 on the bottom, or it could have both. So complex fraction could have numerator and or denominator as a fraction. Okay, that's complex fraction. So let's try to simplify one, to rewrite it as a division expression instead of just this complex fraction. So let's try that one. It's 1/3 divided by 5/6. So we're going to say that's equal to 1/3 times, remember you flip them, 6 over 5. Now we can simplify this, equals 1 times 6 over 3 times 5. You divide this by 3 and it becomes 1, divide this by 3 and it becomes 2. So 1 times 2 equals 2, 1 times 5 equals 5, and the answer is 2/5. Let's try this. Example 18. All right. A. Evaluate each quotient. -5/6 divided by 1 over 24 equals -5/6 times 24 over 1. Because we switched that, we flipped it. So now let's say negative is our total answer because we have a negative and positive, so it's negative. And then 5 times 24 over 6 times 1. Now we can divide 6 by 6, it becomes 1. We can divide 24 by 6, it becomes 1. And our answer becomes -5. Oh, sorry. 24 divided by 6 is 4. So our answer is actually -20. Let's try B. -5 1/3 divided by -2 2/5. Let's write it out as improper fractions. -16 over 3 divided by -12 over 5. Now let's write this as multiplication. So -16 over 3 times 5, 12. Actually, you could write the negative sign there. So we have two negative signs. We know the answer is going to be positive, so we can get rid of those signs. And then we can say 16 times 5 and 3 times 12. Now we can do a little bit of canceling here. So 16 and 5. 16 can be divided by 4 to give us 4. 12 can be divided by 4 to give us 3. 4 times 5 equals 20. 3 times 3 equals 9. Right as a mixed fraction. It is 2 2/9. And that gives us our answer. C. -1/4. Someone's playing drums really loud right now. It's cracking me up. 1 over 2. So let's write this out. -1/4 divided by 1/2. So let's write this as multiplication. -1/4 times 2, 1. We flipped that. It equals a negative number because we have a negative and a positive. So 1 times 2 is 2. 4 times 1 is 4. We can simplify it to be -1/2. That's its simplest form, and that is the answer. Go ahead and try guided practice 11, 12, 13, and 14.